Hi, it's Brian coming to you from the Baru Art World Headquarters. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank you so much for your support of this channel. This week finally hit 500 subscribers, which to me is amazing and it is humbling. And I just really wanted to extend my appreciation for all of the time and the attention, the likes, the comments. You know, these make my entire week. I'm just very thankful. So in order to celebrate this milestone, I wanted to create something a little bit different. And I'm going to draw on the past 6 months of art on this channel, and I do hope that you like it. I'm going to make a toy automaton, which is basically a moving gadget that usually has a crank and some assorted characters or objects that move because of gears and levers and the like. I've made a couple of these over the years and I just love them. This snail must have sensed I might need his help. He was trying to get through my door. And he has the right idea because I'm definitely going to add a snail to my automaton. I don't know why or how, but snails have ended up in so many of my art pieces over the past year. Some serious, and others just plain silly. Most of these are found in previous videos, and you may have noticed if you've been here a while, that there are a plethora of snails. Do I have an explanation for all of this? Nope, not really. The first thing I'm going to do is form a snail out of polymer clay. Sculpy, to be exact. That's the name of the product. It's such a wonderful clay for me because it doesn't dry out, and I can keep some on hand without worrying about it going bad. The texture of this clay is like a medium hard. You can definitely use your fingers to sculpt, but it's also hard enough that tools are really useful, and most hefty forms won't slump down into some sort of sad grade school art project. I still remember a cup I made in grade school, and it resembled more of an ashtray than a drinking vessel. Man, my artistic life started out on shaky ground, my friends. A lot of time the characters in these toy automatons are built out of wood. I think for purists in this artistic quadrant, using clay or plastic might be frowned upon. I would have loved to have done this entirely in wood, but I really didn't have the time, and my wood carving tools are pretty dull right now. I wouldn't use dull tools to sculpt wood. That is dangerous. I really only had a couple days to make this contraption, so I figured the clay would be a good compromise. And as it was, each of these characters that I made took a couple of hours each to create anyway. You know, maybe it would have been quicker to do a drawing or a painting, but that just wouldn't have been as fun for this sort of project. But really, going slow is okay, right? I mean, it is a snail after all. So after getting to the point of being pretty pleased, or at least pleased enough with the rough form of the snail, I hardened it in the oven and then began to give it a little bit of a paint job. In a perfect world, I would have liked to have painted this with all the nice details and the textures and even covered it in a varnish or something like that. But I think that this will work out just fine. It's simple, but it's definitely identifiable as a snail, and that's the important thing. But snails weren't the only creature to populate my art timeline this year. What about squirrels? Well, I decided I needed to get a squirrel in here as well, so I began to form that also with the polymer clay. Probably the most unique thing that happened with a squirrel this year was letting one select the winner of an art giveaway in March. Whichever Peanut Ivan the squirrel selected first indicated the winner of a Rhode Island red rooster drawing. And that drawing ended up in the northern region of the UK, quite possibly because Ivan was bribed. No, he's above that. I trust Ivan. He's a first-class squirrel, and he will be immortalized on this automaton. Ivan is actually quite a bit more gray than this paint would indicate, but let's just pretend that he spent the day at the hair and fur salon. For my third creature, I debated between a frog and an octopus. I decided on the octopus because I think I will do a larger clay sculpture of a frog one day. And one day in the not so distant future, I would guess. I've also drawn more octopuses this year too, certainly more than I have frogs. And actually a couple of them have their tentacles wrapped around a boat, which I'm going to be using on my design for the automaton. I did run into one little problem. I decided not to use an armature for these creatures. It just seemed more trouble than it was worth. But they would have been useful for the tentacles on this octopus. I wanted to put him there holding up a little rowboat out of the water. And the weight of the clay was just too heavy to get this to work with these relatively thin tentacles. So I used the body of the octopus to provide support, and that worked out well enough. And after a little bit of paint, I was finally done with the 3 stars of the automaton show. But really, this is just the beginning of this process because I needed to build the box and the mechanisms that were going to move these creatures around. I mean, if they are celebrating 500 subscribers, they need to do something, right? Not just sit there. Fortunately, I've got nearly as many woodworking tools as I have art supplies. And to be honest, I usually consider my wood tools to be art tools. So I used my saws to get the lumber into the right sizes, or at least I was hoping they were the right sizes. Typically, these boxes take a good amount of planning, making sure all the parts are in the right place and that one mechanism doesn't interfere with another mechanism, that friction needed to move one part doesn't end up being too much friction due to the weight, and all these sorts of considerations. Fortunately, I chose a very basic design, so that would limit what could go wrong. This part of the project definitely took the longest, a lot longer than making the little creatures. It's amazing how just a couple millimeters can make a huge difference in something that works and something that doesn't. It definitely helps to have the proper tool so that, cuts are straight, holes are drilled perpendicular, and that they're just the right size, not too tight, not too much wobble either. I still had some adjustments to make when I finished, even though this was a simple design. I've seen these sorts of boxes made out of cardboard and string and popsicle sticks. It's really a lot of fun, and if you have an engineering sort of brain, you might find this to be right up your alley. I do hope you enjoyed this little animated project, and again, thank you so much for your support. It's no small thing to spend some time with some random guy making videos on YouTube, but I do truly appreciate it. I'd love to hear what you thought on this project or any project past or future. Don't be afraid to comment. I do love those, but that's it for now. I'll be back next week. If you're new here, why not check out my last sketchbook tour, and you can get an idea of the sorts of things that I've been doing.
We'll see you later. Bye-bye.